Hi guys, so welcome to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Carolyn and I record videos of anything that has to do with motherhood, faith, and my lifestyle. So if you are not subscribed, hit the subscribe button, join the family. We are growing slowly but surely, and if you are coming back to my channel, welcome back and thanks for tuning in. If you see me rocking back and forth, it's because I have my little munchkin in here. Obviously, if you could tell by today's title, I'm going to be talking about my home birth experience. And I do have a couple of videos and some pictures to share with you guys today. I'm just going to go ahead and just talk about my experience from beginning to end and pretty much how labor went for me. And as I'm talking, I'll go ahead and insert pictures and videos and all that stuff to share with you guys. I also asked on my Instagram if you guys had any questions for me regarding to a home birth, if you guys were curious about knowing anything, and I'll be answering those questions at the end of the video. So pretty much towards like my mid of second trimester all the way to the end, I would start getting Braxton Hicks contractions. Those are pretty much, they're called false labor contractions, but I don't understand why false if it's real and you're feeling the contractions, but I would get those a lot. And so on October 15th, it was a Friday, like all that night I was getting contractions and they did feel different from Braxton Hicks contractions. I started getting them like on the lower end of my belly, kind of like period cramps, and I didn't really think nothing of them. I mean, although I did know that they were different, I said, you know, it's probably just, you know, my body just getting ready in general for labor because I am coming close to my due date. So I didn't really think much of the contractions, but I was having them pretty much all night on October 14th, all that night up until the morning of October 15th. But I did what my midwife recommended me in general of just, you know, trying to get the most rest that I can meanwhile, so that way if I was going to have my baby later, you know, that day, then at least I will have some energy in me and not be all really low on fuel by the time it's, you know, time to push. So around 6-7 in the morning that I actually got up from bed, you know, just had a slow morning, had breakfast. My husband was very on the edge. He was actually getting some work done. He works here from home, so he was in his office and he was getting some work done, and I was kind of waiting to tell him about these contractions that I was feeling and see if they would be more consistent. So I actually started timing them myself without telling him anything, and when I started timing them, I'm like, okay, there's kind of a pattern to the contractions that I'm having, so I'm just gonna go ahead and tell him. So I did end up going to tell him, and he just pretty much was like, okay, you know, we'll keep a lookout for the contractions. If we need to call the midwife, we will. So maybe an hour, 2 hours later, I kept timing the contractions, and my wonderful midwife did give us a binder with a whole bunch of information, and one of the pages on there did talk about contractions and all that stuff. So every single time I would feel something, I would run to the binder, see if there was a page about that information. And so with the contractions, I'm like, okay, maybe it's, I gotta, you know, call my midwife, let her know what's going on, so that way she can have in mind if, you know, that there's a possibility that, you know, she was going to be coming today, that day. So then I called my midwife. I let her know that I was having contractions. I was telling her what I was feeling, and that was around maybe 9 in the morning. And she pretty much just let me know, okay, you know, keep you know, time your contractions, you know, pay attention to them if they are increasing in intensity. If you're having contractions where you can't talk through them anymore, or you feel like you have to focus more to get through the contraction, then, you know, go ahead and call me back. So yeah, that's what I did. I was also doing exercises along the way, like on the exercise ball, a couple of other exercises that can encourage labor to make baby come quicker, make sure, you know, she's in a good position and all that. So I was pretty much doing that for a couple of hours, and I kept timing my contractions, and the contraction app that I had, after a certain point it told me, okay, you know, head on over to the hospital, because, you know, they see of how close the contractions are, how long they're lasting and all that. So I got that message popping up on the app like 2 or 3 times, and like after the 3rd time, I'm like, I told my husband, I'm like, you know, the app is telling me to go to the hospital, so maybe it's, you know, detecting that my contractions are closer together, and all that. So, and also along with that, I was noticing that my contractions were getting more intense, where when I was having a contraction, I had to like pause. I was breathing through it. My husband was putting pressure on my hips every single time I was having a contraction, which helped so much. And so then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna call the midwife. So I called her like around 2, maybe 2 in the afternoon-ish. And I let her know, hey, you know, like I'm noticing that my contractions are getting more intense. I feel like I do need to focus more through these contractions. And I actually got a contraction while I was on the phone with her, and I'm like, you know, like trying to breathe through the contraction, and she just pretty much said, yep, I think, you know, I'm sure you're in labor. So she, you know, let me know that she was gonna get to my house as soon as possible. Then after that, I kept doing what I was doing. I was just pretty much, you know, I was upstairs in my room pretty much all of my labor. I was just walking around in my room. I was switched to the bouncy ball, and after a certain time I was like, okay, like I need to get in the bathtub. So I filled it up with warm water. I got in there maybe like around an hour after I called my midwife, so like around maybe 3ish. I got in the bathtub, and I was in there pretty much majority of all of my labor. And each contraction that I was getting, my husband was putting pressure on my hips, and I was on all fours, and I'll insert some pictures here. I was pretty much on all fours in the bathtub, and he was like pouring water over my back. And at this point, the contractions were definitely getting more intense. I had worship music playing in the background, so with the combination of putting pressure on my hips, you know, water down my back, and just listening to the worship music I was listening to, just helped me so much get through these contractions. But definitely they were super intense. If you can tell by the photos that I did share, they were real. So I was in there for quite some time. My midwife ended up coming to my house like around maybe 4ish, between like 4 and 5, and I was in the tub maybe until like 7 p.m. Then yeah, the contractions were getting definitely more intense. I was starting to feel pressure of wanting to push, and you know, she would ask me, do you feel like pushing? And I was like, yeah, like I feel, you know, a lot of pressure. And she's like, okay, like if you feel like you have to push, just go ahead and push. And it felt good to push. And then I was getting tired on the in the tub. You know, she was monitoring the baby's heartbeat was great. Baby was just, you know, doing good. And then since I was already getting like the urge to push, my midwife asked me if I wanted to get checked to see how many centimeters I was dilated, and I told her, yeah, let's go ahead and just get checked. She checked me, and she said around 7 or 8 centimeters dilated. At this point, just because I watched so many videos on labor, I knew that soon enough go through what they call the transition, where it's just gonna be the most painful part of labor, where the contractions are the most intense. Your body's getting ready to push this baby out. So in my mind, I was starting to get like, I did get scared, and I was starting to get very nervous of like, oh my gosh, like I'm very close to meeting my baby, which is exciting but also like scary, because if I'm gonna meet her soon, that means I gotta be pushing, you know. So when she said that, I'm like, okay, like I'm almost there, but also at the same time, like, you know, this fear like entered in me of like, oh my gosh, like my contractions are about to get even worse, and I'm about to feel all these things. So then I brought myself back to like a comfort stage. I'm like, okay, you know, just try to get through it, like we're almost done. And so after she checked me, I did get back in the tub for a little bit, and at this point just my contractions felt so unbearable, and I remember just telling my husband, and actually my two sisters were there. My youngest sister and my oldest sister were there, and I was like, you guys, like I can't do this, like I really truly felt like I couldn't do it. Just the contractions were so intense, and the pressure I was feeling was so intense. And so then after I told them, okay, like I think I want to move to the bed, because the tub was starting to feel uncomfortable, just because it's hard. It was like hard, my knees were getting tired, and when I would, like, if I were to get in the bathtub, like, you know, take a bath the way that you like lay down, that was very uncomfortable for me. I had to be like on all my fours, like on my knees, and my knees were getting really tired. I'm like, I just, you know, I need something cushiony, I need to be more comfortable. So I ended up getting on my bed, I think like around 7. Yeah, so I got in the bed, and then the contractions were like at its all-time full gear, painful, and I had just such a strong urge to push. Like my body just wanted to push, and I remember just, you know, telling my midwife, like yelling like, I have to push, and I remember being on the bed and I was feeling so dizzy, lightheaded. My husband, you know, told me after that, you know, he would get worried because he would see that I would look very pale, and that I just looked very like, you know, that I was gonna faint. And, you know, I told my husband, because really that's how I felt. I remember being on the bed and I just felt so lightheaded, and my sisters and, you know, my husband were encouraging me to drink some vitamin water in between, to keep hydrated. And I think because they would see the way that I was looking, and I remember my sister, my oldest sister, she had offered me if I wanted a cold cloth like on my chest here or on my forehead, and I remember telling her no. But I think because of just how she saw me, sometime later she ended up getting these wet cloths for me, and they were a lifesaver. It felt so good, like on my forehead, on my chest. I think I rejected it just because like I just didn't want anything. Like I didn't know, I wasn't like in, you know, my right mind, I feel, just because obviously of everything that you're feeling. But my sister ended up getting the wet cloths and put it on me, and it helped so much. And I remember just putting it over my eyes. I also had one here. And every single time I had to push, like I was holding on to, I don't even know whose hand I was holding on to, but I was holding on to someone's hands, and I would like push with all my might. And I remember just tensing up also down there, because I would feel myself like, you know, like hold myself. And I remember the midwife would tell me, no, you know, like, you know, try to, you know, not, you know, tense up and all that. It's just a lot of things going on where you're trying to connect your mind with like your body and like what you're feeling, but also what you're going through, and try to connect everything of like, okay, like you need to focus, like you need to push this baby out. After pushing for quite some time, I honestly do not know how long I was pushing for. It didn't feel like a long time, but I remember the baby's heart rate was going down. She was also getting tired too, you know, because it's also a lot of work for them. They're working very, really hard too. So she told me not to push on my next contraction, and oh my gosh, you guys, that contraction and not being able to push, to, you know, for her like to get better for her, so her heart rate can go back up. So the next contraction came, and she said, okay, don't push. And I remember just like yelling like, I have to push. And you know, she was like, no, like don't push, hold it in, like, you know. And all I could think about was my baby. That was the only seriously the only motivation why I didn't push. I'm like, okay, I'm doing it for her, so she can be good, because I was also getting that also scared me too when she said that like her heart rate was going down. I'm like, oh my gosh, like I need to work even harder and push with all my might so she can come out quicker, you know. Yeah, so when the next contraction came, I held in with all my might to not push, and that was the hardest thing ever. I've had the biggest urge to push, obviously, you know, because the contraction is at the most intensity, and your body's working to push a baby, and so your body's feeling also as well that it needs to push, and then to mentally go against what your body wants to do of like hold it in and not push was really hard. That was so painful. So after that contraction, they heard her heartbeat and her heart rate went back up. She was good, so that really helped her. So that gave me so much peace. So then when the next contraction came, I'm like, okay, like in my mind I'm like thinking all these things. I'm like, okay, you have to push, you know. I had to, like, I was telling myself, hold your push longer and stronger, you know, so she could come out. And something I also forgot to include was that when the baby started coming out and they started letting me know like they can see her head and all that, I started feeling a burning sensation, and I know this is what they call the ring of fire, and let me tell you, that definitely felt like a ring of fire. It burns so bad. And that's when I could feel her head coming out, not like with my hands or anything. I wasn't like feeling or anything like that, but just, you know, obviously you could just feel something big coming out. And I remember just feeling a huge burning sensation. I remember saying, it burns, it burns, it burns, and I remember my midwife telling me, yeah, that's normal. Within the next few pushes, she was out, and then they put her on my chest, and I remember being just so out of it. My husband and my sisters tell me that, like, I was saying like, is she out, and like, you know, she was already like on my chest, but I feel like, you know, you're just on a high of like all these emotions going on, like physically what you're going through, and it's just the most painful thing I feel like a woman will ever go through and experience. And so they put her on me, and I remember talking to her, but I feel like I wasn't really grasping that like she was on me, that she was like out of me, you know. So I'll, you know, include a video here.
I know.
She hid.
I know, honey. I know, baby. Hi. I pushed you out. Oh my gosh, I pushed the baby out.
You pushed the baby out. Can you believe it?
No.
You did it.
I did. Hi. Hi, baby.
Okay.
Hi, baby.
Not making I got it here.
Hi, baby. I know.
Yeah.
I know, baby.
Yeah.
I know, baby. Oh. Hi.
Yeah.
Hi.
Shaking is normal, okay? Don't hide
Okay.
it. Don't hide it, okay?
Okay.
Little Miss Eveluna was born at 8:09 p.m. She weighed 7 pounds, 14 ounces, and 20 inches long. I remember talking to her for a little bit, but I was just so out of it. And I remember I was just like for some reason I was more focused on the pain I was still feeling, because even after she was already on me, I was still feeling like a burning sensation down there. And I remember just asking like, why does it burn, and like, why does it still sting? I felt it was like a stinging kind of feeling down there. And my body just right away after they put it on me just started shaking. Like I could not control my shake. She pretty much just revised me down there and let me know that I did tear. I had a 2nd-degree tear, and she let me know, do you want me to stitch you up now? And clean up and all that stuff, or would you like to have some skin on skin time with your daughter first? And I wanted to get everything that had to do with down there done. So then as she was on me, they did show me my placenta. I didn't do anything with my placenta, but it was pretty cool to see. My husband went ahead and cut the cord, and then after that they went ahead and gave her to him to have some skin on skin contact. So she went on him and they stitched me up and cleaned up the bed and everything. And so when everything was cleaned up, I changed, went back to lay down, and that's when they brought me my daughter, and I was able to actually look at her and acknowledge that she was here and fully process that she was here. And then I had her latch on. So she was breastfeeding for a bit, and that's pretty much my whole home birth experience. I think it was, now looking back, I say, wow, I cannot believe I did that. I actually gave birth with no medications or anything like that, but definitely the hardest thing I ever had to do in my entire life. I felt like I was a little traumatized right after. I'm like, I'm never having kids ever again. Because it's definitely real. It feels pretty cool, and it feels awesome to know that I was able to do it, and that God let me, he considered this petition that I had of having a home birth experience, and it was honestly the greatest thing ever. I'm gonna put my midwife's information down in the description box if you're in the Las Vegas area and you're looking for a midwife. I cannot say enough great things about my midwife. It was the greatest experience ever with her. She's seriously so great. So I'll put all her information down below if you're interested. All right, little Missy made it out. So I'm gonna film this quickly. So some quick questions that I want to answer before I end this video. Question number one is, was it too expensive? So compared to a hospital birth and all the fees they charge and the crazy amount that they do charge, no, a home birth is not expensive. I personally paid $4,000. Some insurances do cover it, so you would have to see with your insurance, but I did pay $4,000, and compared to what I would have paid at a hospital, it would have been way more outrageous. So to me, it was not expensive. Were you scared since it was a home and not a hospital birth? I would have never considered ever to do a home birth. I was kind of just always like, okay, everybody has a hospital birth. You never really think about it, but then once I started watching videos and doing research on a home birth, I started falling more in love with the idea. There is a scary part to it in the sense of you don't know how everything's gonna turn out. You don't know how, if you're gonna have to end up going to the hospital at the end of the day. I know in a hospital setting, you feel kind of more safe. And I feel just naturally, just how we see it, especially because all births you just see hospital. But I think if it was in the culture to mainly do home births and not that many hospital births, I think it wouldn't be scary. But since, it's in the culture to have hospital births instead, and it seems kind of out of the normal to do home births, that's scary. But I just put all my faith in God and asked him to just take care of everything, and he's truly the one who gave me peace to continue with the decision of having a home birth. And that also ties into the next question of what made me want a home birth. And it's when I started doing my research, I just saw, okay, I'm gonna feel much more comfortable. It's special as well because this is my first home, my first baby. She's gonna be born in this home, and as well that I can create the atmosphere that I want. If I want to blast worship music, I can. If I want to be in her bedroom, if I want to be downstairs, if I want to be in my room, if I want to be in my bathtub, if I want to be in my shower, just the choices are endless, and I love that I can be comfortable in my own home. Would I do another home birth? If you would have asked me in the moment of, in labor and active labor and pushing, I would have said, heck no. But, ask me, looking back now that it's past me, definitely I would, because I know that I can do it. If I did it once, you know, I can definitely do it. But I don't want a kid anytime soon. Unless God sends another baby, obviously what can I do, but we'll wait on that. Were you scared when you had to push, and how did you know it was time to push? Your body just lets you know when it's time to push. Just like when you have to go to the bathroom really bad, like that's pretty much how it feels, but like 20 times worse. Just you feel an urge to push. And were you scared when I had to push? I would say yeah, scared, yeah, because once I found out I was 7 to 8 centimeters dilated, I did start getting scared of like, okay, the time to having to push, that's when the contractions are going to be the most tense ever, and it's gonna hurt a lot. So definitely I was scared, but you know, also at the same time, it's like you're already there and your baby has to come out one way or another, so you have to get through it. What were your expectations for this experience? I kind of left my mind pretty open of just going with the flow and not expecting much. The only expectation I did have was that you, and speaking to myself, like you, Carolyn, you're going to do whatever you feel is right, whatever your body's feeling like doing. Like you're the one giving labor, you're the one going through it, so just kind of go with that. And yeah, just have the expectation, just that expectation alone, that I'm gonna listen to myself and just go with the flow. Who was with you? Did you just go natural? Girl, you are a warrior. I could never. Girl, yes you can. We're all meant to do it. But who was with me? It was my husband, my oldest sister Daisy, my youngest sister Stephanie, my second oldest sister, the one that's older than me, Gabby. She couldn't be there, you know, she's also pregnant as well and due this month, so she couldn't be there. But it was my sister, yeah, my two sisters, my husband, the midwife, and then the assistant to the midwife. So yeah, it was all of us. And then my mom joined me when I was already actually pushing. When I was already on the bed and pushing, my mom was able to get there. So I had all of them with me and it felt great. I loved it. At first I didn't think I was gonna want anybody in there except obviously the midwife, the assistant, and just my husband. But honestly, it was such a huge help having my sisters there with their support and my mom. What helped you most during birth? She's laughing. I don't know if you guys heard that. I would say, like, physically, when I was going through the contractions, my husband putting pressure on my hips and being in the warm tub helped a lot, and having worship music. I actually just played one song all 13, 14 hours of my labor. I played the same song over and over and over. It just brought me so much comfort. I actually had a whole playlist, but I don't know, for some reason I just ended up sticking just to that song. That's the only song I wanted. So those were the three things that helped me the most: the worship music, my husband putting pressure on me, and also being in warm water physically. If I'm talking emotionally or, you know, just mentally, I know, you know, they do say have your affirmations and all that stuff, but honestly, affirmations for me were just out the window. I did not want to hear anything. I wanted it to be quiet. I didn't want anyone talking to me. I didn't want anything. But yeah, so that's what I'm saying. You just gotta go with the flow and listen to your body. And if you don't want anybody talking in the room, then tell people to be quiet in the room, and that's totally fine. You're the one giving birth. So last question I'm gonna answer, just because this video is kind of long already. How's recovery? Recovery for me, definitely the first week was the most tough. I was not able to really walk. I needed help showering. I felt like a little kid, honestly, you know, because of the assistance and the help that I needed. Like I mentioned early in the video, I had a 2nd-degree tear. I also had an abrasions tear, and pretty much an abrasions is my midwife compared it to like a scrape to the knee, where like she can't like sew it up or anything like that, but where the abrasions were was right exactly where my pee comes out. And you guys, when I had to go pee, that stinged like nothing ever before. It's like having a cut and literally pouring straight alcohol, rubbing alcohol like straight on that cut. Like that's how much it burns. And I used the Dermoplast spray. I had to spray that like before and it helped somewhat, but even then, like peeing was the worst thing for like a week and a half. Peeing was just, I hated going to the bathroom the first week and a half, but I'm not way past it now. I'm still recovering, obviously, but I am able to like sit down now. I'm able to shower on my own, walk a little bit more, but pretty much the first whole week I did not go downstairs literally at all. I stayed upstairs in my room the whole time. The only, if I did move, it was just from my bed to the bathroom and to shower, and that was it. And then the second week I would allow myself to go downstairs, but I would stay downstairs for a couple of hours. I wouldn't be coming up upstairs and downstairs. And then when I decided to come back upstairs, I wouldn't go back downstairs for the rest of the day. But now I'm 3 weeks postpartum and I'm able to move a little bit more, but still taking it slow. Whew. Alright guys, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Rather if you're watching it because you're thinking about doing a home birth, or maybe because you just want to see my experience or hear my experience. Thanks so much for connecting, and if you are considering about doing a home birth, I would 100% go for it. I would definitely do a home birth again. It was such a cool, humbling, such an intimate moment, such a huge bonding time between you and your husband like never before. Like it's awesome. Obviously the pain as a woman that you go through, it's real, but you know, like you're bringing a little human being to the world, and it's pretty awesome knowing and looking back and saying, wow, like I did it, my body did it, and there's another little human on this earth because of me, and it's all so cool. So I would definitely 100% recommend, if it is safe and you're able to do a home birth, then go for it. It's really awesome. But yeah, okay, so this, like I said, okay, wraps up today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you guys next time. Don't forget to subscribe, follow me on Instagram, and don't forget to like this video. Hit the notifications bell so you know when I post a new video. And I'll see you guys in my next one. And remember, God is good all the time. Bye!